Welcome to Redbeard Radio. I'm Brian Keith, and today we are talking about how to sell through your writing. We're talking with a guy that went from breaking up concrete with a sledgehammer to making a good living writing in a very short number of years. You heard him on episode 119 of Redbeard Radio on redefining your limits and ice baths. We're talking to Jeff Putnam today. Jeff, welcome back to the show.
Hey, thanks for having me back on, man. I had fun last time.
Now, one piece of your story I just can't stop thinking about is that you were literally breaking up concrete with a literal sledgehammer really recently. What year was it that you stopped doing that for work?
I think that was 2013.
Now, 2013, it's 2022 now. So less than a decade, and you've gone from the most kind of backbreaking labor, probably along with mining, to making money just through writing. And how many hours are you working a day now on your writing?
I would say anywhere between 2 to 4 hours.
Okay, so working what most folks would consider half-time, part-time on your writing, making plenty to go feed your family and go have the kind of life you want. What is that path that you went from sledgehammer jockey to working part-time and having more than enough? How did you do that transformation?
Well, in December of 2018, I started a company called Rugged Legacy Grooming. Men's personal care products, beard balms, beard oils, those kind of things. And that was done in a response to Gillette's toxic masculinity thing.
Right.
Well, I didn't know the first, second, or last thing about starting or running a business. So everything that I did was something I got from Google trying to build it. And I kept coming across, you got to get traffic. And how to get traffic to a website. I Googled that. It's like blogs. People read blogs. They go, oh, well, they want to see more about what the company is or what the website is. So blogs, and then SEO and all this other. Okay, well, I've always wanted to be a writer. I had this romantic image of a writer when I was a kid, which was basically me dressed like Ernest Hemingway, doing what Ernest Hemingway would do, which was
smoking a pipe, and
being very drunk on a boat with a machine gun, shooting marlins, and banging away on a typewriter.
Excellent.
Unfortunately, that is not how my life looks right now. That was not realistic. But no, I just started blogging for my company. Hey, read this blog. Hey, you guy, random dude on Twitter, read this blog. I've got a lot of connections just DMing people. Hey, read my blog. Tell me what you think. If you read it, you like it, or you don't like it, I'll send you a free product.
How did that result in you getting good? To go have the discipline to go contact a lot of people, even the discipline to go build a grooming products business, those don't result in and of themselves in being a good writer who can make money from the writing. What else happened, or what was the secret ingredient there?
I just kept doing it. People ask me, how do you get so good at running? Well, I run, How do you get good at writing? I write. Anything that I've ever done has been because your brain is desperate to make something new into a habit to make it easier. So the more you do it, the more your brain figures out better ways to do it. I was starting to get really good at online business. It was making it about as much money as my 9-to-5 was. And, they say you don't quit your 9-to-5 until you're making 2 to 3 times as much at your business. So I kept going with it. And eventually someone came to me and said, can you teach me how to do what you do? So I put that into a little ebook, and I said, I'll just teach everyone how to do it. It did really well. I sold maybe 1,000 copies of that thing.
Wow.
Yeah, I mean, I've still got it for sale. It's my quick start side hustle guide. Most people get about halfway through it, and by the time they're done, they've got 2 or 3 projects on the burner because it's really easy to follow information, right? It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. But eventually someone came and said, I want to teach people what I do, but I'm not a good writer. Can I just pay you to write it? And I'd never considered that before. Yeah, sure.
Why not?
What
year are we up to now? When you were offered a ghostwriting job?
This was mid 2020. So it was right when I lost my 9 to 5 because I refused to wear a mask. I'm that guy. Uh,
Yes, you are.
I
For
am that
reference,
guy.
check out Jeff's earlier episode on Redbird Radio about doing ice baths. He is that guy. Okay,
Well,
so
I also became a competition fighter at age 35. So there's that.
there we go. Yes. So how long was it from you started writing to you were offered someone just telling you, hey, just go, can I give you money to go write? How many years was that?
That was about a year and a half, I guess.
A year and a half. Okay. Now,
Yeah.
have you figured out how to help people move more quickly through that process? Is like
Yes.
now that you're looking backwards, can you drag out the process for getting good enough at writing to not just be readable, but actually cash in hands?
Yes, 100%. That's one of the things that me and my business partner, Dylan Madden, started doing because he's an email marketer by trade. I am a writer, copywriter, but I really like doing long form things, ebooks and
Mm-hmm.
my own books. Uh, but when it comes to writing, it's the one skill that is applicable to every industry. Everyone needs copy. Everyone needs
Yeah.
web content. So figuring out how to simplify the fundamentals of writing and then teach people how to perform the fundamentals fast is what puts money in people's pockets, right? Because they're able to go from, I don't know what this book means when they're reading The Hero's Journey, where you have to be the Obi-Wan while your customer or the reader is the Luke Skywalker.
Mm-hmm.
Nobody knows what the hell that means, but I figured out ways to simplify that. I put all those in my my other product, which is 7 Secrets to Write Like a Pro. It is the basic fundamentals of writing. And I sent this thing to content writers, professional authors, award-winning authors, and said, hey, tell me what you think. Every single one of them said, this is all I do, but I just do it fast. So I knew I had something, and I started selling that one. That one does really well. I've sold maybe 400 to 500 copies of that one. It's doing really well. But on the freelancing side, which is how I make most of my living, is writing for other people. Not all of it's ghostwriting. Some of it's just I manage all of their media content on the marketing side or their press release side. Right, big tech companies is kind of where I've niched in.
Now that let's just pause for a moment there. Isn't that a wild part of this world in 2022 where an unnamed big tech company is paying some tattooed guy out in the mountains who does ice baths to write their press releases? That's what's happening here, folks. And it's just like, let's just take a moment to appreciate that you don't really know what you're reading, what is being written by, like, did the president actually write that press release? Well, of course they didn't. But even did your local company write what you're reading on their Twitter account? Maybe not. Maybe they hired someone like Jeff to take care of it for them. Back to your story. It's just a wild world that we live in.
Yeah. And so what's funny is I got most of my clients from work that I put out and published years ago. One of my clients followed someone on Twitter who was a mutual follower of mine and said, oh, I found you through so-and-so, and they were recommending your ebook. I figured since you had a book, you're an okay enough writer, and I need someone to write. Is that something you do? I said, yeah, sure. So we hopped on a call. Next thing you know, they're one of my biggest clients. And they're a company that is featured in very hyper niche tech magazines around the world. I never thought that would be something that I wrote about, but I just happened to be good at it when I tried it. But in the freelancing side, one thing that I wanted to make clear for people when I started teaching, how to write for cash. I even created a product called Keys to Cash. Keys on a keyboard. Haha, pun. But hey, it's a writer's joke. You have to do it. But teaching people that you can take these fundamentals, which take a lot of time to learn if you're learning it traditionally through going to a university and taking writing classes, or even if you're like an autodidact and you're learning yourself with online courses or books from your library or things you buy online, it takes practice. With the method that I started teaching and with Dylan Madden as my business partner, we were able to turn out 3 dozen freelance writers to where they were making money. One of them immediately found a client, which is the biggest tech company in the world. I'll let anybody guess and figure out that. Making around $700 a day just to work on a project for them writing. It's because we take the very simplest rules of writing and then we apply it to what people want to read, which is not always what you want to write or feel like writing. And so it's understanding the human psychology of it, which is what copywriting is. You write copy because you understand the person you're talking to.
Let me give you a project, and then you can help us understand how to apply the Jeff Putnam process to this project. How does that sound?
Let's do it.
We have a problem. The problem is I have, by the time this episode goes live, 160 or 180 episodes of my podcast. They all have transcripts. That's not the problem. The problem is the transcripts are for episodes that are 15 minutes to some of those 60 minutes long. Who's got time to read that? No one. So what do we need to do? We need to take each transcript. We need to turn it into a max 10 tweet Twitter thread, as well as a max probably 500 word article on LinkedIn. And then it needs to go out for all the ones in the future each week, but also the entire past catalog. Now, is this something that I could do? Of course I could. I did the interviews. I can write. I could go back through 180 episodes and write 180 different Twitter threads and 180 synopses for LinkedIn. But I don't want to. That's a lot of time. I'd rather be doing more interviews and working on higher profit per hour projects. So that's a problem I have. It's a writing problem. And what about this, Jeff? Also an email going out to the list instead of just having, here's my, the little blurb that a guest provides, actually having a really nice email each week that, again, takes the big ideas from the episode and narrows it down. So this is a writing problem that I have. I've not solved it yet because it's sort of a hassle, like, how much should I actually be paying for that? But I know that I'm already putting in this work to create the episodes. I'm already interviewing amazing guests. We're having great conversations, but I'm not experiencing the full ROI of that investment because I don't have the writing happening in the background without me personally doing it. Solve it.
Hire me.
Okay. That will be after this interview call. Right. But what does that look like to both, if you have a back catalog and you have current ongoing needs, how does someone just hire a ghostwriter?
One thing you're always going to want is a proof of work from anyone that's going to write for you. The problem with hiring a ghostwriter and getting their proof of work is if you're like me, you sign a non-disclosure agreement where you never reveal the people you write for. So I couldn't give you something that I had written for you. One thing that we tend to do in the industry is give you a sample. It's not going to be a great sample, but if you've got 160 plus episodes, I can do a portion of one episode or one entire episode and say, is this what you want? And if it is, I'd simply apply the same principles and formula, which would be 1, listen to the episode, get the big idea. 2, turn the big idea into a step-by-step, go from A to Z, you've won the big idea, put it into an outline, break that into a thread. You can extrapolate from anything else within the episode to expand it into an email. And you just follow the same formula for every one. But me, I would personally, you hired me, I would pay someone else to do the work and then turn it into you after I've checked it for quality. But that's only after you've got a whole lot of clients and has built up a network like I have.
Well, and you have a quality control system at that point.
Yes.
Which that's part of what I'm paying for, right? Is I'm paying to not have bad judgment seep in, because if at different levels of I could go review every single thing. Like I could go listen to every episode after editing is done before it goes live. I absolutely do not do that. I pay someone to do that. She has a whole team. Rihanna's wonderful. If you want your podcast to sound great, Rihanna at riverwoodmedia.com. She'll take care of everything. I review episode titles, but I don't touch the details because I pay people to pay attention. People who really like paying attention, which I want to have fun conversations. I don't want to make sure that every little detail is perfect. That's someone else's job. So I like this idea. You help design the system and then you have it to someone else who follows the system. That's an interesting thing.
And the way I build a system is I open up Zoom, screen share, hit record, and I personally narrate what I'm doing and why. And then I just send that. Then I just send that video to whoever I want to do the work.
I love it. That's my favorite way of creating SOPs for my COO clients. is turn on Zoom or turn on Loom in my case, and then record it as I'm doing a process and say, this goes here, this is why, this goes here, that's why. Share the finished Loom video with the whatever staffer I'm training, whatever process it is. And I say, okay, staffer, watch the video, create an SOP based on the video that I just made for you. Show me the SOP. And then that way I can just review the instructions. And it's critical that they watched a video, but they're writing instructions. That way, if I wasn't clear on anything, it shows up because they can't just copy and paste, right?
Right.
So I love that. Tell me this, Jeff. How do I know what I should be writing versus what I should hire out? Because part of my story is I'm a business guy. I'm a business consultant. I write headlines for people. I write people's podcast titles. Like I do writing as part of my job. So how do I know what is my special sauce that is the Redbeard brand versus what stuff can I hire out? Like the podcast, obviously, I don't want to be writing Twitter threads for every episode. That is not the secret sauce. I know that. But there's sort of this gray zone in the middle. How can anybody tell when they should do writing themselves versus hiring it out?
For me, it's always ROI based. If you are getting a significant return on the writing process that you are doing yourself, then you keep doing that yourself. If you're not, you outsource it. It's the same with anything in business. Well, there's also the enjoyment factor too. And I'm not going to say, well, if it's not making you any money, don't, just hire it out. If you enjoy it, obviously keep doing it. But if you're leaving other opportunities on the table because you're having to dedicate time and resources to doing it yourself, maybe you should start outsourcing it.
I love it. I ask clients, I say, what do you like create? How do you like to create? Do you like to create on video or audio only or text? And then depending on what someone says, if they say, well, I like video, I say, okay, live or not live? And is it just you or are you interviewing somebody? And if they say they like audio, it's the same questions about, is it just you or with somebody else? And is it live or not? And then if they say text, I say, great. Do you like to write short things or long things or somewhere in the middle? And as far as I can tell, everybody gravitates towards something which they really enjoy and it doesn't cost them very much. For me, I find I like to do interviews, audio only, that are recorded. Of all the kinds of creation, this is the least expensive to me in terms of my energy. Now, I'll tell you, in my mastermind, the Redbeard Accelerator, we have live calls twice a week on Tuesdays. So that's a video call with a group, but I only do 2 of those a week. It's expensive for me energy-wise. After those, I'm really drained. But I look at those and I think, oh man, we have all these recordings. I could pay someone else, someone not me, to go and take that transcript or even watch the video and extrapolate some things and then go post that into the group Slack channel. So that even somebody who didn't show up at the live call, yeah, they could always watch the hour-long recording or they could go read the 500-word version, right?
Yep.
And that way, again, I've already made the investment. I'm just not capitalizing on it enough. And I'm not going to, because for me to watch something and translate into words, that's expensive. Whereas doing the video call itself is sort of expensive. Doing audio calls only is really inexpensive for me. So I can do it all day long.
Oh, 100%. And that's one of the things that Dylan and I do in our freelancer boot camp. We had the training calls, one every week. And of course, they're all recorded. But before we shared them into the archive for people to review, we sent them over to someone that we hired that would go through and create a bullet point slideshow in Canva, like just a small presentation that highlighted the main points that were discovered. And so you could, one, go in and watch the video recording of the entire thing, which then you have to sit through the little side conversations that pop off. And so you're still spending the amount of time that you would have if you were on the call itself. The other, I can just click on the summary, go through the slides, see the main points that I needed to get, and move on. I can even just pop them downloaded right into my phone and pull them up later and use them for reference while I'm doing the work. So it made it a whole lot easier just being able to outsource something like that to give the basic summarized version of a 2-hour-long call.
So I'm going to summarize this conversation, Jeff, for my future ghostwriter to make a note of, is how to create a writing system to increase the return on investment from any time invested creating something, whatever it is. And that's that big story. Because I even have client calls where if I had a writer under NDA, I could have someone maybe listen to a recorded call with a client and pull out the couple things that are just me explaining a general concept, not having to do with that individual client's work.
100%.
And that's even my accelerator. We discuss a lot of private client stuff inside that intimate community. But there's a substantial part of some of those calls that's me explaining a procedure and why I think a certain way. That having a writer grab that out and turn that into a Twitter thread, yeah, I'd probably want to go review it before it gets posted until I can at least trust the person's work to make sure that's actually what I meant to say. But to get more return on investment from stuff I'm already creating, because so many creators, we're already doing all this stuff. We're just not repurposing it all. So like, we're going to write this thing and then it goes off to die in the woods alone instead of it gets exposed. So Jeff, I'm super excited for people who want to go capitalize on the work they're already doing. What is the path towards working with your team?
The first thing you would need to do would be to either join the Freelancer Bootcamp. Everyone within the Freelancer Bootcamp that Dylan Madden and I run is where everyone that joins and goes through the program, it's a 6-week program. Once you're in, you're in. And from that point, you will be our exclusive talent pool because 1, we trained you and we can trust you. 2, we know that we can find you if we need someone to take some of the work that we've offloaded. So you can join the Freelancer Bootcamp, get trained by Dylan and I. We haven't run a new group in a couple of months because Dylan was down in South America setting up a new residence, but we will be opening that up soon. Or you could book a call with me one-on-one, although I've only got 2 spots left for that. They might be gone by the time this ends. But in the event that you really needed something, you could always just DM me on Twitter and we could set up a one-on-one call to discuss it. And my ad name will be in the show notes as well for this.
Great. So that's rugged_legacy.com. RUGGED_LEGACY. That is what it is on Twitter. I probably said .com earlier, whatever. That's the Twitter handle to go and DM Jeff. I'm excited, Jeff, that the more people who start incorporating other writers and don't feel like they have to do it all themselves, that's a lot of untapped value in the world. That if we can bring that out, we can make everyone wealthier and happier and wiser. So I'm just so glad you shared your process. And thanks for being on the show, Jeff.
Oh, man, I always love coming on the show.